Photographers who do school picture days, what are your most cringe-worthy strange stories of your career? I did senior portraits and this really nerdy looking kid wanted photos with his 2 samurai swords. I tried my best to make it look cool but I just couldn't. Another senior did couples photos with her boyfriend. They specifically earnestly requested a pose where the girl posed all cute on one side of the couch, while the boy sat on the other side of the couch, staring at her while stroking his beard. That one didn't turn out well either. Every awful school photo becomes timeless. You created art, and you should be proud of it. Spent 15 minutes with a guy because he blinked every time I took the photo. I tried everything in my book, making him close and open his eyes before snapping the picture, delaying the flash, shooting without flash, taking the picture while talking to him so he'll be distracted. Nothing worked. Ended up taking his picture with a cell phone, because apparently what made him close his eyes was the shutter mirror sound. Somewhere out there is a kid with a story about how he made his school picture last 15 minutes cause he kept closing his eyes on purpose. When I was having my graduation portrait taken, the photographer pulled me aside afterwards and for like 30 minutes was talking about all this new Photoshop and airbrush techniques they could do now. I played along, being polite. I didn't really care, but he seemed super hyped about it and how cool it was. Turns out it was his subtle way of asking me what I thought if he airbrushed out my pimples. I had pretty awful acne at the time. Like, holy crap, Lunalander couldn't find a decent spot to put down in. He eventually gave up and I left thinking to myself how weird that dude was. I got the pictures a few weeks later. He did a good job and completely airbrushed everything out. I showed my dad who took one look and said, "Who the frick is that?" They airbrushed my freckles off my face for my senior portraits. Before that I was always told they were cute. Knocked my confidence down a peg. I work as a photographer. One of the people I work with was shooting a little girl per request of mom. She tried like heck to make her smile but she refused. She wasn't rude or upset, just very shy and quiet and uncomfortable taking photos. Mom told the photographer that a week prior the photographer at her school told her she had a weird funny ugly looking smile and to learn to smile better. Since then the little girl refused to smile in any picture. Mom brought her in to see if our photographers could change that. I think she got some decent shots but man, I remember what it was like getting shut down like that as a kid. It was devastating. In his freshman year my brother, a white dude, switched his picture card with an Asian friend of his. They figured that the picture guy would notice that it was weird that a white guy would have an obviously Chinese name, and they would tell them to switch back. Nope. For the rest of his time in high school on every form and computer system my brother was an Asian guy. Confused the heck out of substitute teachers. This somehow happened to a few kids in my school. Our pictures were swapped with the primary kids across the road. I was a little blonde 6-year girl for about 3 months. Can we do funny? When I was a school photographer, to amuse myself I tried to give each kid in class a unique word to say. Fuzzy puppies, funky monkeys, etc etc. So I get this little girl at my chair. She's got the thickest glasses I've seen, an overbite, and as pale as a vampire. But whatever, a kid is a kid. So I say, okay, say fuzzy kitties. And she gives me the most irritated look I've ever seen. I'm allergic to kitties. Like it was the dumbest thing anyone had ever said to her, and she felt sorry for how dumb I was. I was photographing a 3rd grade class and I got to an adorable little boy and went through my list of instructions. Now turn your head here, shoulders here, oopsie, your right arm there, wait, please move your right arm. He gave me the saddest little look and showed me the stub on his right shoulder. He had no right arm. I felt like a terrible person. We were doing photos at a special needs high school. Guy comes up in a windbreaker, corduroy high water pants, Velcro tennis shoes and the thickest glasses I've ever seen. I asked him whose class he was in so I could make sure he was in the right group and he said he wasn't a student. He worked there. Haha, that's hilarious. That makes me remember of when I was in elementary school. My mother volunteered to come do surveillance at school during lunch breaks, and the 6th graders kicked her out of the class and called her names because they thought she was a student. She ended up yanking 2 of them by the ears and dragging their butts to the principal's office. I'm not a photographer, but I probably gave the one who took my second grade school photo a weird feeling. I just moved from a third world country and didn't speak a lick of English. I had no idea what a soda can was, much less the hallowed tradition of picture day. So when my class was directed to shuffle down the hall in an orderly line to the gym, and I saw all those abstracty bluish background canvases that looked like X-ray images all over the gym, and that we were all going towards a spot directly in front of it, one at a time, in this solemn fashion, I thought we were all, one by one, having a medical procedure done to us, and that's why I look a little teary and very, very stoic in my second grade photo. Go to dress my little boy up nice for surgery day. Photographed a class of 1 and 2 year olds. I mostly did preschool. Their teacher had written herself thank you notes as if they were coming from the pre-verbal children. Like, dear Ms. Judy, thank you for changing my diaper. Dear Ms. Judy, thank you for giving me snacks every day. She had written one for every kid and hung them up all over her wall. Later, as I was trying to navigate my tripod through a hallway, she felt I was in her way and threatened to bash my face in with a door. Dear Ms. Judy, thank you for not murdering me. Some kid showed up in a fursuit, like, full-on fursuit, a bright blue fox, and he ended up having a half-hour-long argument with the photographer and assistant principal over it. My school has a kid who shows up in a fursuit every day and doesn't take it off, and for some reason nobody questions it. Maybe I'm just more crazy than I originally thought. So I'm in kindergarten getting my picture taken. 1980. The flash bulb pops and explodes, catches that umbrella thing on fire. All the teachers scream and I crap my pants. Awkward when I get picked up by mom wearing underoos and holding a plastic bag. But the teacher said I was brave. A simpler times. You handled that situation the same way I would today. I do Santa photography. Had a 12-year-old boy come in with his family. He was extremely excited to meet Santa. So excited, he decided to pee his pants as I was setting the shot up. Didn't see until I took the first photo. With some clever hand positioning I was able to hide it for the most part. Parents didn't even notice. I worked for a company that did this. Didn't work there long, but the worst thing I encountered was multiple notes on the forms parents sent back to us saying don't make my child smile. Or they have a bad smile, don't make them smile. How terrible is it to tell strangers you hate your child smile? I understand some didn't want big toothy grins because they were missing teeth, but that's part of childhood. They'll never be like that again. Why not enjoy it? I'm a studio photographer and this is one of the most heartbreaking parts of the job. Worse than telling strangers is when they let their kids hear it. I've seen way too many 5-year-olds having sobbing breakdowns because they don't know another smile. Mom, I'm sorry for one lifetime. It was for a middle school. There was this young lady having her portraits done. She wasn't doing anything bad in hindsight. She was just very well developed for her age and the shirt she was wearing had a little cleavage. I'm sure her parents sent her out of the house just fine, and she probably felt very pretty and confident. Young lady, having photos done, no big deal. Class portrait time. Out of nowhere this middle-aged female school administrator comes up to her. She yanks her out of the photo and chastises her for her outfit. Then she makes her wear this oversized baggy t-shirt and we redo the photo. I can only imagine what this girl was going through. Kid I went to high school with showed up on picture day wearing a giant afro wig. He had worn a wig the year before but it wasn't as noticeable, so our senior year he decided to push it. These weren't yearbook shots, just schoolites. He gets to the front of the line and the photographer tells him to take the wig off. He argues it was his real hair and even breaks out the "my dad is black" argument. Finally the guy just lets him take the picture with the wig on. Guy at my school had a reverse mohawk, which is where you shave a line down the middle. The photographer actually asked him if he'd like to wear a hat. Our grade school principal got a pink inverted mohawk one year at a school assembly because we met our reading goal for the year. Really cool principal. I asked a 4th grader if she hurt her foot. I have a prosthetic leg. She was wearing sandals and sure enough rubber foot. I asked a 7th grader to sit up straight. Spinal problems. His doctor bought a copy of the photo as a before shot for a textbook he was writing. Whatever the doctor did, it worked like a charm. A kid told my assistant that they ate their pet rabbit the night before. I asked a kid to sit down. He sat down on the floor. I told him, not on the floor, on the chair. Please point your knees at the computer. He got up and touched his knee to the computer. I said, no, sit on the chair and turn your knees, point them at the computer. I asked a kid if they wanted their hoodie to be in the picture. Number okay, take your hoodie off. No. Do you want your hoodie in the picture? Number if you don't want your hoodie to be in the picture, you have to take it off or it will be in the picture. Oh, I want my hoodie in the picture. I tapped a kid on the shoulder from behind and asked where the teacher was. She was the teacher, and I had known her for almost 20 years by that point. Asked a teacher if a severely disabled student could sit by themselves on the bench. The student couldn't and there was a pretty hard thump on the gym floor. Hoodie kid was stoned off at school. I'll try to remember some stories later, but there was one shoot I'll never forget. First off, we were expected to do 3 sets of pictures for each student. 1 for the yearbook, tux for boys, drape for girls, 1 for cap and gown, and 1 set of casuals. Casuals usually involved hand poses with a table. We'd bring in some cutesy stuff, like holding a rose up to your shoulder, or like full body pictures meant to show off their clothes. So a girl comes in, she looks out of it, like really not connected to the world. I take the yearbook pics, I take the cap and gown, all the while her smiles are so obviously faked and her eyes are just gone. It's okay, I was used to dealing with students who didn't want their picture taken. I'm pretty good at loosening them up and making them laugh, but she was barely paying attention to me. She seemed really distracted. I tell her to change into her regular clothes to take her casuals and she's like okay, all monotone. She comes back and has huge bandages on her arms. Clearly this poor girl had tried to kill herself rather recently and was just taking these pictures out of obligation or something. Every casual photo I'd take of her would have those bandages and there would be no mistaking why they were there. Instead of taking them and having them show up in the proofs that would go out to the parents, I tell her, okay, you're good. Thanks for coming, and she just shrugs and leaves, just as apathetic as before. This was like 6 years ago and I still think about her sometimes and I hope she's happy now. Probably the most awkward moment I had was working with LifeTouch and photographing a girl's senior portrait when I was 23. She went on and on about how she was 16 and skipped a grade because she was so smart. I told her that was good for her but could be hard when it came to college. She responded with a story of her spring break in Mexico where she did a wet t-shirt contest and was in the top 3 contestants. Most awkward conversation I've ever had doing senior portraits. In the top 3 means I got 3rd. Being a young female photographer, probably having to photograph male high school seniors is the most awkward. I've been asked out on dates, hit on, winked at, and straight up had any and all requests for them to smile nicely, stop goofing around or take their hat off ignored. In photographer, there was a very small country mountain high school we used to take senior pictures at every year. Only about 15 or 20 seniors each year, but there was no other photo studio or services for a few hours drive. So when we came to town to take pictures, it was a big deal. I did several sessions where I was taking entire family photos, newborn baby pictures, and bridal portraits during their senior portrait sessions. Yes, bridal portraits. Some were for upcoming weddings, but most were for the wedding, and or children they had already had during their junior year that they had no other pictures for. Oh my. When I was in grade school, a photographer kept telling me to open my eyes even though my eyes were open. I didn't know any better, so I was struggling to open them super wide while having a smile. Now that I'm older, I feel like he was just making a racist remark since I'm Asian. Had a similar thing happen to me, except I'm only slightly Asian. I asked a kid to please look at the camera like 3 times. Then I realized he had a lazy eye. Dang. Ha, I had a lazy eye. Have had multiple surgeries to correct it, and this happened to me in like 2nd grade. My teacher butted in telling him about my lazy eye and he tried to apologize. I didn't care though because picture day meant I got out of doing a little bit of work. A guy at my school demanded to have a picture of him with a Microsoft painted spacesuit on as his senior photo, but the teachers wouldn't let him. So he paid extra to have himself as an ad in the final part of the yearbook, with a photo of him in a spacesuit. Obligatory. I am not a photographer, but my senior year in high school I almost ended up with my boyfriend's picture above my name in the yearbook instead of my own. We had to go in for pictures about a week before school started at a specific time depending on last name. So A names went at 10, B names at 10:30, and so on. My last name and my boyfriend's started with the same letter. We lined up together, and the lady gave us our barcode cards with our names. I got my picture taken, and then waited just outside the picture area for my boyfriend. I watched as the photographer neglected to scan my boyfriend's card, took the picture, overwriting my picture, realized the mistake, scanned the correct card, and took the picture again. I asked him if I needed to do my picture again, but he waved me away. A few weeks after school starts, we got our ID cards. Well, everyone but me. One of my friends was an office aide, and he was cracking up every time he looked at me at lunch. When asked why, he said, "You'll see, I was called to the office and shown my ID card, which had my boyfriend's picture on it. They wouldn't let me just take it, and said I had to do picture takes." Throughout the year, the picture of my boyfriend was associated with my name in the school's computer system. I got a lot of double takes from new teachers who would look at the name and picture when calling roll, and then see me and be confused. Somehow my retake picture ended up on my ID but nowhere else. The yearbook only ended up with my correct picture because I had a friend on yearbook staff who caught the mistake before it went to print. The picture company did send me free copies of both my pictures and the ones of my boyfriend though, which was nice. School photographer here. Lay on a couch was the funniest name I've encountered. Not so much cringe-worthy as it was awesome. A teacher once brought her various pet parrots to be photographed with her. A kid handed me the little card with his name on it. "Let's call him Dave." I took it and read the card and said, "Hi, Dave." He said, "I'm not Dave. My name is Logan." I said, "Oh no, I must have the wrong card. I'll look for the one that says Logan." Then he exclaimed, "I'm Wolverine." You know those portraits they used to do? Maybe they still do them. I don't know, where you get your regular portrait in the middle, and then another, slightly faded picture of you in the top corner looking off into the distance like you were gazing off into heaven or something. Something weird happened when they printed off my brother's class photos, because some girl in his class got hers with her normal portrait in the middle, but my brother's face in the top corner gazing into the distance. I don't know why. It's a simple mistake, but the thought of it always makes me crack up. This is Diamond SpongeBob. He only appears every 200,000 videos. Subscribe for good luck. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.